So I'm Alex Putman, and I'm going to give you an opportunity also to win some prizes. Yeah. If you tweet, that's my Twitter handle. At the end of the presentation, I'm going to look to see who's tweeted the most, and I've got 2 books to give away. The hashtag, I haven't seen a whole lot of people using Twitter, but the hashtag here is TMASRS. So if you use that, then I'll know. So instead of talking about myself, I'm going to attempt to show you this video, and this kind of, in 1 minute, kind of tells you who I am. Just 2 or 3 quick things. Where am I from? Alabama. Where'd I go to school? Tuscaloosa. How many people lived in my hometown that I grew up in? There you go. So a lot of times when speakers get up, and you can talk and talk, I use a lot of video, especially in communicating, and I built that kind of to make a point, and also kind of so I didn't have to repeat the same thing and forget over and over. But video and anything visual is always going to be very powerful. You're going to remember it, you're going to retain it. How many times, if you have children, you've probably watched tons of Disney movies. I can almost recite word for word Finding Nemo, really and truly, because I've seen it so much, but it leaves that kind of impression. So today what I'm going to talk about is how do you do this storytelling, not just in video, but what is your company's story? How do you tell this story? We're going to look at from a couple of perspectives. Oops, there we go. We'll look at messaging. Can you guys see that? It's a little dark. We're going to look at messaging. I wish that came up a little better. So what's the context of it? What are your campaigns? What are you sending out? We're going to talk about visual. How do you tell this story visually, through pictures, through video? And then where do you distribute it? So once you create all this stuff, and we were talking earlier outside, and somebody said, I think the people from Rolls-Royce showed a video, and they were like, how did you do that? And it was such a great story, and it had such a lasting impact. So when we think about attracting talent, there's different things that we think about. Who do we attract? How are we attracting? If you look at some of this, I've been in both these environments. So I'm going to talk from a couple of different perspectives. I've been in a big company, I've been in startup companies, and I've been in mid-sized companies. And you think about the different story. I came from a startup where our environment was very similar to this at the top right. Very casual, dogs in the office, flip-flops. That's a pretty easy sell, but not everybody wants to come work there. And I actually had people that didn't want to work in that type of environment. I'm at a company now where we're more the cube world. It's pretty standardized cubes. We're trying to be a little more startup at YP. We want to kind of have that startup mentality, but the issue, if you were in the earlier, as I'm talking about, we've got the yellow pages, we've kind of got the history there. We've transitioned now. We're going more towards the digital side of things. But as we're doing that, we still got these 2 cultures really. But we're trying to attract people that fit into this culture up to the top right, especially in our technology area out in Los Angeles. The other talent, are we more suited up? And it's not just about your culture and what you wear to work. Are you more casual? So what's the talent that you're trying to attract is the main point here. And that's part of your story is, who do you want to hire? So in traditional recruiting, we talk about how many people have been in this environment. Get a rec, post it, fill it. That's pretty much recruiting's job. Is that pretty much how it works? But if you think about it, there's a whole story here, and this story spokes out all these different places. You've got video, you've got your careers portal, employees, talent communities. And I want to stop a second and talk about talent communities because that's a big buzzword. And I was at SourceCon last week, and there was a lot of discussion around talent community and what a talent community is and what it isn't. So I'm going to give you my definition. What it isn't is a job notification tool. So if you have a tool that is sending out job notifications to a group of people that have just dropped their email into a CRM, that's not a talent community. To me, a talent community is two-way conversation. So it's a group of people that I want to hire, that I have a desire to hire. Think about it from this perspective. We've all had this. I spoke to a candidate. He or she said, they were a great fit for the job, but perhaps, I got a junior in high school right now. I'm not really prepared to move. Or, you made them the offer and they said, really, at this moment, I just can't do it. But they're a good candidate. What do you do with that person? Typically, we might connect to them on LinkedIn and then we kind of forget about them. To me, a true talent community is putting that person into some type of marketing campaign, a VIP section, where I'm saying, I really want to work with this person. I want to hire this person, whether it's 2-3 years down the road. Another example of that is I had a group that I was a friend, the head of talent acquisition for a company in Atlanta, and they were hiring. They do a lot with college recruiting, and they have an excellent program for college recruiting. So now they're looking for, and they hire consultants, so now they're looking for people with 2 to 8 years experience. Well, I asked her, I said, well, how old is your, how far back does your database go, your ATS? And she said, 10 years. And I'm like, well, what about those students that you interviewed 2 and 3 years ago? Now they've got 2 or 3 years experience. So you had this huge hiring push for college recruits. Let's say you had hired 5, but you had 5 more that you really didn't get to hire. You didn't have the openings or whatever, but you liked them. Well, now those people have went and they have 2 years of work experience or 3. How are you keeping in touch with them? And so that to me is what a talent community is. So I'm going to show this video, and this is a YP video. So I've got 3 that I'm going to show you. And the first one is, this is a rebrand. And what we've done is we've taken this big company, we've carved it out from this bigger company, and we've said, all right, we're going to stand it up, and this is what it is. So this is kind of what a message here for our rebrand video.
So I think why YP is such an exciting place for a new employee, and especially somebody coming out of school, is this is a gigantic startup. It's an opportunity to create something new, but out of assets that are meaningful and material.
I think working here is a really great environment. Just everyone's always so nice and so eager to help. That's one thing, but also, you can put forth your own effort to achieve the results that you want for yourself, and it's just very fulfilling, in the end, to know that you're challenged every day in a good way too, but you're rewarded for those efforts.
And so the things that we do in the consumer space and the technologies that we build affect millions of people every day and how they go about finding local businesses. We're competing on the consumer side against the Yahoos and the Googles and a raft of startups, but what none of them have is this unique combination of our digital platform with a sales force.
We have all the traditional departments that support our sales and technology groups, such as human resources, marketing, operations, and on the sales side, we're hiring approximately 800 salespeople a year. And as our digital region continues to grow, there's more opportunities, not just as a salesperson, but also in our sales management capacities. In technology, we're looking for some of the best and brightest and innovative minds in the world.
The advertising industry is all about innovation, and YP is no different. So at YP, we've fostered a work culture which allows us to be casual, but at the same time it's very fast-paced. We spend a lot of time thinking about the outcomes we desire, and what we learn, we keep on learning until we hit the right sweet spot in terms of what our market wants, what the customers want, and at the same time, get a lot of learnings from it. And this helps us grow in our careers and helps YP grow as a business.
It's very well researched that corporate responsibility programs are very popular with the community, they're very popular with our customers. YP Cares is our corporate giving and social responsibility umbrella. And I think when we look at our company with a mission that is really as profound as helping communities grow, it's really, really cool. We're rebuilding parks, and we are rebuilding homes, and as long as it ties back to our mission, we're all over it.
It's a real unique opportunity to work with technology, to work with customers, to work with a sales force, and to transform a company that has just recently stood up and is forming who it wants to be and what it's going to become. The future is very bright for YP. It will be an incredible place to start a career.
Let me ask you, and you're going to see 3 different types of videos. When you watch that, what's the first three things that kind of pop into your mind about if you were to come work there, if you saw that video? What's just 3 things, 3 words? People look like they were having fun, enjoying what they were doing. Okay. Did it look corporate? Did it look startup-ish? I'm sorry? More entrepreneurial startup? Okay. That was the message we were going for. Anybody else? Pretty casual, which is totally different than it was back pre-2012, because with AT&T it was very suit and tied up. And so you still even see that today when you walk through the offices and everything, and it's almost like you can tell the people that were there before and the people after. It's not as bad, it's not one's bad and one's better, it's just it's different. And so what we really want to get out there is that message of, this is who we are now. It's not the Yellow Pages, it's rebranded. So when you think about telling a great story, and how many people here love a great story? You love movies, you've read a book, anything like that. Think about movies and things like that, and think about, how do I take that and I get it down into a 3-minute video, or I put it out on social visually, put it on Instagram. We're going to talk about some of those things. How do I get that story about my company and why you should come work here? Or better yet, the talent that I'm trying to attract. Because you can't do an all-encompassing video, because there's going to be people that saw that were like, I really don't, maybe a little too casual for me, or I kind of like the way that it was when it was AT&T. I'm not that interested in that company. But when 5 components here, and this is probably I would say this is probably the most critical 5 things that I'll talk about. But when you're telling a story and you're building your story out, make the candidate care. So think about that. When you've seen the story of Nemo, what happens in the story of Nemo? He gets lost. The whole story is he's lost. His dad's trying to find him. Simba, another Disney movie, what happens? His dad dies, he thinks it's his fault, and there's this whole story. So I'm not saying you got to go quite that far with candidates. Whatever works, right? But what you want to do is, what is important to them? What's important to candidates today? You hear most people talking about flexibility. That's something that's very important. Work-life balance, we hear that a lot. And I'll be honest, for me, I'm 41 years old. I have 4 children, as you saw in the picture. Identical twins, 10. I have a baby girl that's about to turn 8. My son turns 6 on Friday. It's very important to me to spend time with them. I'm actually going to be coaching in a basketball tournament tomorrow night. It's very important that I can do those things, that I can coach my children, I can be there for them. So if you said, hey, this is one of those jobs, we're working 24/7 and this kind of stuff, it wouldn't be for me. Or you have to be in the office every single day, and we're here till 8 o'clock, and we'll get you pizza and Chinese food, though. That's not going to be for me. Another component is take them along the journey with you. We know the story of Frodo as he goes along, and it's this whole long, epic journey. But think about that. People, they want to understand what's the daily adventure. And we hire a lot of technology folks. And for them, when they think about YP, for example, a lot of people automatically think the yellow book, the Yellow Pages, the book that you get that's print that most of us probably put in our recycle bin. I think we all raised our hand on that earlier. There's this whole digital component. And a lot of our technology folks out in Los Angeles, the way we're promoted to them is, look, we're the 31st most trafficked site in North America. We're a top 50 media company. There's this component that you don't even know about. And we want to take you on this journey as how we're changing, we're transforming. We were this, but we're taking this whole company and shifting it to something totally different. And it's exciting to some people. Some people it's not. Be intentional. Think about Gladiator. What was the number one thing that Maximus had in mind? What was the thing he wanted? He was focused on the whole movie. Revenge. Again, probably not best for your employer brand story. However, you want to be intentional. What's the people want to learn? They have to earn a living, right? So at the end of the day, I've got to make money to provide for my family. We all have to do that. But is it more than that? What's the intent of the company? Someone earlier asked about social responsibility, and you saw in the video with YP, we talk a lot about the social responsibility. That video was geared more towards our college recruiting, and what we found through research is that, and I'm sure all you will agree, college recruiting, it's not about just getting that first job. I mean, there's a part of it that's there, but if they had the same job and it was identical, but one company focused on the social responsibility part, then that would be very important to them. Now, if you're not doing that component and you sell that you are, and then they get there, you're going to have a very disgruntled employee. So you have to sell the things that you're doing. And we have a huge push around the social responsibility piece. Let them like you. Everybody liked Rocky, right? Everybody loved the story of Rocky. Give candidates, give these employees something to like. And these videos and these stories, it's not just for your external candidates. This is internal as well. We have actually monitors up that we actually put up in the lobby that now tell the story. We have videos of our habitat builds. We'll have any of our YP cares, any of our events. We had Halloween parties and things like that. Our executives all dressed up. This didn't happen a year ago. This has all happened in the last 6 to 8 months. And so we showcase that, and we show our internal employees that. And we want to make sure that externally people see that. We created a YouTube channel just for careers so that people could see we actually do have a good time. And lastly, delight and engage them. And this is from Star Wars, one of my favorite movies, and I had a long discussion about it at lunch earlier. This is when the Death Star is destroyed, and there's all these emotions. But people want to see things that are interesting to them. You want to delight and engage them. Again, what is it about your environment that is going to attract people? What type of person are you trying to attract? Any questions there? So let's talk about the messaging and how do we message to people. And I'll keep it really simple here. It's short and to the point. Somebody mentioned it earlier, get to the point. One of the things, how many people put up a job description that's really, really long and has the same header? Anybody do that? So what happens is, what I've found is candidates nowadays, I'll be honest, I personally have never read a complete job description that I looked at. Who in here would agree that they've never read a complete job description that they've applied for a job at? So what makes us think candidates are going to do that? Second part of that is, where are most of your candidates finding jobs, finding out about you? Google search, Indeed, Simply Hire, different sites like this. When I pull up Indeed or I do a Google search, what's the first thing I see if I see a job, whatever job, say YP software engineer? I see 2 lines, right? The first 2 lines of whatever I've posted. So if I pull that up on Indeed, what if every single line, no matter the job, reads the same thing? What do you think candidates are going to do? Move on to the next one. Move on to the next one. I tell people part of your story, part of your message is you have to be concise and to the point. You want that prime real estate is what I call it on your job description. Those first 2 lines are so critical. And we do a lot. I really tell the recruiters, you've got to understand what this job is. You got to hit, what's the components? What do you have to have in this job? If it's a C# job or a development job or a sales job that requires travel, whatever, make sure you put that in there. Don't start them all out the same. Make sure each job is different. Get people reading, because jobs are going to be different. And I'd ask anybody, if you walk away from anything with that, that's the thing to walk away from here today, is telling that story short and concise, and knowing, and we'll talk about where to tell it as well. So this is an interesting slide. I was talking to my friends at Career Builder last week, and we're talking about what are the factors affecting acceptance of job offers. What do people look at? And if you look here, the gray to the left is the essential, and the red is the very important. First 3 things, job content. Second, creative and challenging work. Third, fit with the culture and environment. Look where salary and benefits fall, and even job security. Now, it's not saying that it's not important to people, but it ranks below a lot of these things. And this is recent data that they pulled. So if you're getting ready to tell your story, what are people looking for? I would say what am I going to be doing day to day? That's why I talked about those first 2 lines being important. Is it creative and challenging work? How many people here want to go to a job that's boring every day? Raise your hand. Nobody, no matter what the role is. The culture and environment fit. We're there 8-10 hours a day. We hang out, we build relationships, we go to lunch. You know, we're there more than we're with our family. The culture is very important. You know, I think of myself, there's certain environments I wouldn't fit in. If you say, Alex, you've got to wear a tie to work every day, I would be miserable. You know, some people, I've actually interviewed people on the flip side of that. We, at a previous company, we had people, I told them, don't wear your tie to an interview. I mean, don't bring it in, we're casual, come as you are. And I'd have one or two that would come in the suit and tie, and they'd come in, I'd say, you can take it off. I would be uncomfortable doing that. And you just knew it wasn't going to be a cultural fit. And that's okay. It's not that one's, again, it's not one that's better or worse. So now I'll show you, this is a video, this is kind of the startup, if you will. And this is what it would be like to, actually, you know what? So I've got the video switched. So this is the techie company. So, and that was my fault for switching those. We'll show this one. This is actually a video for Panasonic that they shot recently. And their environment set it up. They used to be manufacturing a long time ago, and now they're moving to this techie world. So they're trying to attract talent from Silicon Valley to move to South Georgia. So let's see how they do that.
Is this confidential or is it disclosed outside Panasonic?
We're creating new paradigms for the way things are done in a car. It's just so totally a different world.
It's all new technology. It's making those things that people can conceive of reality.
As we move to this new existence, and that is multimedia in the vehicle, internet, connectivity with the phone, the ability to connect wherever you are, wherever you are, it becomes more relevant to the current generation than it does to previous generations. So it's absolutely essential that we bring young talent into the organization and immediately engage them, because it's very relevant to what our products will do going forward.
We need excitement, we need energy. It's a great opportunity for someone who is passionate about technology and wanting to share that with the rest of the world.
We've got a very engaged and innovative group. Along with that comes a lot of crazy people, right?
I thought we should wear a t-shirt and that fit the programmer perspectives, you know.
We try to bring together, again, a different group of people. We give them a lot of freedom to take a look at not only what today's technology is, but trying to look at what tomorrow's technology is.
That's really where the magic happens, is when you can get design and engineering working together.
Inspiration is all around us, and in this building, as you walk out, there are very interesting minds that I've not met other places. And some of this comes from the diversification within Panasonic, not only the people, but also the products, not only the regions, but also the people that move around the regions.
Panasonic provides an environment that's conducive to your growth and your productivity.
If anything, this place is the nicest and most kind-hearted place.
They're always open. Even if it's not my supervisor, I can always go to someone else and say, hey, could you take a little bit of time to help me out with this? And that kind of work environment only inspires the ability to kind of get out there and do what you need to do.
You're going to get the commitment. You're going to be able to see things that you may not experience at other companies.
Work-life balance is very critical. The hours spent at work can be very long. So if you can create an environment that has ping pong tables and foosball tables and things of that nature, it really gives them a chance to really go and rest their brains and come back and be creative again.
At Panasonic, we all care for each other, and we work very hard to make sure that our tasks are completed, but their needs are met too.
I've seen many different innovations working here, and I see many ideas become realities, and that really inspired me.
I had this great moment where I was able to show commercials from the customer, and our product was the centerpiece. So I got this great pleasure to have all these people in a room and show them that video and say, look what you did. That's the kind of thing that inspires me, right? Just being a part of that and what these engineers are able to accomplish. Can I go now?
Yes.
So what did that message communicate to you? What did you, caring culture? Very playful, yeah. 5-6 years ago, it was a very manufacturing environment. They weren't doing a lot of software development. They had some, but not a large team. They've shifted all the manufacturing away, and they're doing a lot more in the software side, and they're doing in-dash for cars. So think of car audio, things like that. If you have a video or navigation in your car, there's a good chance that they did that, and it was built there. What else? What else? What made you say that would be a great place to work, or that wouldn't be a place to work? Very multicultural. And you kind of expect that from a big company like Panasonic, but it's different when there's an expectation and when you can actually visualize it and you see it. You know, it's one thing to say on a website, you know, check out our diversity plan. I had this conversation the other day, and you click down and you read about it. How many people have went to a website and read a full page that was on that website? Yeah, exactly. But how many people go to a video, you watch it on your phone, would watch that video? As long as the story's intriguing enough and it sucks you in, you have an interest. These videos are great also too for putting on your job description. So you just host it on LinkedIn, you throw the link into every job description. So if it's, and I'm gonna show you a departmental one later, but you know, if you had like the marketing department, you have a marketing job, put the marketing video at the end and say, hey, see what it's like to work here. I've gotten tons of clicks doing that. And again, it's for some people and it's not for everybody. So let's talk about how we build our story. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I get the cultural thing and I get kind of, but I didn't really see kind of where it's going to attract.
How it's going to attract them. So a lot of what we were gearing that video towards, what they were trying to do is when you're moving people from Silicon Valley anywhere to South Georgia, and it's south of Atlanta about 45 miles. So it's not that it's too far from Atlanta, but probably too far for the person that's coming out of college, that's a software developer. But if you're a family, if you're a person that has a family, you're in your 30s, you know, or up, that's who they're trying to attract, because those people, that's an area where you want to settle. And so part of what they talked about was the technology, and kind of in that technology world, there's not a lot of companies doing that where they're working on the navigation. There's only a few companies doing that. So the highlight there was to kind of show the work. So you notice there was a lot of shots of the office, not necessarily, there was the cultural shots, but there was also shots of the products and things like that. And so to a technology person, they're going to pick up on what they're doing there. When they use the terms like embedded and things like that, there were certain key words and key things they were using that to a technologist, they would say, okay, that's interesting work. Does that answer? Mm-hmm. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that part of the story is not necessarily part of the video. So I can tell you for this particular one, there is a huge campaign. So, well, I'll go into a little more detail. So what Panasonic is doing right now is they're dropping people. They're having this talent community built out. They're using a tool, which I'll talk about in a little bit, Ascendify, so I'm jumping a little ahead. And it's basically a tool that allows you to campaign. That's one of the components of it. It's kind of like Brave New Talent, Avature has the same setup, things like that. And so part of what they're going to do is now they can market directly. So with this tool, you can cut and just drop people into the community. So you could drop them into a folder, software, whatever. Now you can campaign directly to that person. So there's more videos coming about what's it like to live in Peachtree City. Why would you move from California to Peachtree City? Not everybody would, but then you can campaign to those people and against those people. Exactly. Yep. Yep. So when you're telling your story, and that's a good point because it's part of a series, because a story, right, it's not just a video and done. It's not just a post on LinkedIn. It's a continuation. Look at The Hobbit. How long is that, right? Which I love that. Your story, but think about your theme. What's the theme? What are you trying to tell? What are you setting up? Are you trying to be techie? Are you trying to be funny? Are you manufacturing, healthcare? You have to speak to that audience. The style, serious, funny. I mean, there's been 2 different styles here, and you're going to see a third one that's even really quirky. Your script. So do you want to use your people, which I highly recommend, but using your people, the surrounding offices. For YP, we're getting ready. I'm going in 2 weeks. We're going to do a shoot in Los Angeles because we're trying to attract technology talent, and we're having trouble doing it because people think YP, they're not thinking, you know, high tech, but we are. And so we're actually going out, we've built out the story and everything. We're going to go out in 2 weeks and we're going to shoot it. And one of the things we want to shoot is people going back and forth to the office, because the office is right downtown. And so everybody goes for lunch in these little hip areas and cafes and stuff like that. And we want to show people, show a real day in the life. And then bloopers. When I talk about bloopers, don't think of it as memorable clips. What are some of the clips in the last 2 videos? What are some things that stood out to you? Am I done? Yeah. And that was kind of a blooper, and we kind of put it in there because it's fun. So I'm not saying put bloopers, but you're not perfect. No company is perfect. And so showing some of that real side of things, because you could probably tell from that manager his personality, right? Did anybody kind of gather what his personality was probably like and what it'd be like to work for him? And I'm going to show you a video later that's it's more centric on, instead of the company, it's about the department, and then you can really see that. So campaigns, let's talk a little bit about that. And quick check on Twitter, let's just see who's ahead. I've got Sean and Craig. Sean Ritter and Craig Woodson are leading right now for a prize, so get to tweeting. Campaigns, we just touched a little bit on Ascendify and Avature. Think about your CRM. Think about, and it depends on your size company. You could be a large company that has a pretty sizable budget, and so you can afford some of these tools, but you may not be. CRM, all you're doing is, that's your relationship management. It could be Facebook. I've done it with Facebook groups. It could be LinkedIn. A lot of people have talked about that today. And those are free. You can start a group there. So, I mean, you could do it from email if you really wanted to. I think it'd be pretty tedious, but there's tons of places. And we'll talk about who do you put into those campaigns. RSS feeds. So one of the things that these two tools allow you, Ascendify and Avature, is you can actually, and I think Smashfly is here and they allow this as well. The only one I've used personally is Ascendify, and I've seen Avature. You can pull in an RSS feed, so if there's a lot of news about your company, you can pull those feeds in and automatically send that out. Anytime there's a new video uploaded or something in the news, and you send that to candidates. Think about, how often do you want to get it. Again, you don't want it to be spam, and in my opinion, you don't want it to be just job notifications. To be honest, if you want a job notification, you can sign up for that. People know where to go to find jobs. What we're trying to do is tell them a story, because why should you come work here? Talked about that. So a Twitter party, so this is something new. I'll tell you kind of one of the things that I did. We had a huge push for college recruiting, and this was at and I'm actually doing this at YP as well. So we had this huge push, and we were going to all these different universities. And when you go to the university, you go to the campus fairs. Do you guys ever see where they say our hashtag for the event is this, right? So there's a tool I use. It's called laterbro.com. It's free. And it basically allows you to set up, emails, tweets, and Facebook posts. And so what I did is I spent, an hour one evening just going through and canning message. So and it was on a timer, so every 15 minutes from the time I was at the career fair, there was a hashtag going out in a message. And I was working at Casemate at the time, which was a smaller startup, and we were working with some celebrity endorsers, Fergie, Common, and Selena Gomez. And so we'd kind of set our booth up with some video monitors and some of the videos of them, some behind the scenes stuff. So we'd tweet out stuff like, come see why we're working with Selena Gomez. College kids would get an interest. We might say one of the giveaways we're giving away. We might tweet out a job and the type of, we didn't really tweet out jobs, more of the personality, the type of person. Hey, if you're this XYZ, then you should come by our booth and check us out. So nobody knew who Casemate was. We were there with 400 other companies. At the end of the event, the ladies came up and they said, do you guys realize that you had the most traffic and you were the most talked about here? And it was because every 15 minutes there was a tweet going out about us. And it took an hour of our time. It was a manual process, but we took the time to do that. And students were talking about it because students talk in Twitter and Instagram. And anytime I go and talk to the campus, I mentioned earlier how I was speaking to a group of 300 college students, and I asked them, what social media platforms do you use? Those are the two. They're not using Facebook. They're not going to your career page. Some may, but they're looking at Twitter and they're looking at Instagram. And what do both of those have in common? Short, visual, and to the point. We're all familiar with jobs and hashtags, and I talked about the events. Video is interesting because there you want to answer the why, and this is why Instagram videos and Vine videos, I heard somebody mention Vine earlier, and if we have web access, I'm going to hopefully be able to show some of our Vine campaigns, but I don't know if we're going to have the web access or not. But answer the why. Vine is 7 seconds. Instagram is 15 seconds. Do you think you can get a message across that fast? Did you know the average person, when they come in, when you meet a person, within 7 seconds that person's already formed an opinion of you? 7 seconds. So you can do it in video and you can do it in pictures and photos. But the big thing is answer the why. And the question is, why should I work there? And that's for anybody, college to senior in their career. And we talked about pictures. So let's talk about the visual pieces of things for a second. People identify with visual. If I think about pictures and products and things like that, and I'll give you an example. If I were to say, if you were single, and I said, I'm going to set you up on a date, and it's going to be a blind date. And then you had another friend that said, I'm going to set you up on a date, check out their Facebook profile, let me know what you think. Which one are you checking out first? Facebook profile. Why? Because there's a visual connection there, and you can make an assessment. Blind date's kind of the unknown. I don't know, and we're very scared of unknown. Relationship. You know, this helps us visually. We form relationships this way. It encourages a deeper relationship. If I can see your product, if I can see what you're doing, if I can see your company, if I have an inside scoop, an inside peek, I form a relationship. The more I have it, the better. If you have children, I have children. My kids love Disney. I mean, everything is, you know, from a certain age is Disney. And we came down here last year, and I mean, they knew everything. They knew every character, everything you could imagine about Disney. And the reason why is because they see it all the time. It's repeatable, and they keep seeing it and they keep seeing it. And a lot of us, most of us probably don't work for a large consumer company like Procter & Gamble where it's out there on commercials and things like that. I would argue probably the bulk of us are, you know, large companies or mid-sized companies, and we talked about Lockheed, that's not really a consumer product. But you have a group of people. You have a database full of people. You have a CRM full of people. You have people that you've spoken to that are interested in your story. Again, don't think of it as I'm interested in a job. Think of it as I'm interested in the company, and how do you market to those people? And how do you visually show them what's going on and using all these tools? And one thing I would say is don't necessarily think you got to do everything. I mean, it's kind of like the shiny new object. You know, there's something new comes out and everybody feels like they got to jump on it. And earlier we were talking about social media, and one of the things I would, you know, add is have a strategy, have a plan. What is it you want to accomplish? You know, what is it? Do some research, use data. If you're recruiting college kids, then I wouldn't go start a LinkedIn or Facebook page. Most of the college kids I know are just now getting on LinkedIn. You know, maybe you start using Twitter or Vine or Instagram, something that they're using that's geared towards them. If I'm talking to a person that's probably a little further along in their career, you know, 5+ years or something like that, I'm going to go to LinkedIn. But do your own research. And a good source of that research is the people that currently work with you. Do surveys. Ask those people. You know, that's one of the things we do is we'll ask people, you know, what do you use? You know, and you can break it down by age. You can use SurveyMonkey and things like that. What do you do? Break it down by job title, however you want to do it. Some of the things to share, the life there, what's going on there, milestones. We mentioned awards. People win awards. We talked about the Candy Awards. If I know that a company has won a Candidate Experience Award, I know that they've got a focus on that. Then I know they probably have a focus on some other things. If they won awards for healthiest place to work, then I know that they're focused on these things and that's important to them. If that's important to me, then it's probably a good match. It's about what you're trying to do here visually is you're really building a relationship. And that's what it's about. So this is this is going to be the cool video. This is kind of the startup environment. And so we'll show this and see what everybody thinks.
I think that, you know, most managers have situational management styles. And so from my standpoint, I'd say if I think about it holistically, I'd like to empower the team to bring their expertise to the table to solve problems. But also, there are times, given the pace at which this business moves, that the team needs to understand what the priorities are, and it's my role to make sure that they understand that. From a marketing team standpoint, I think the big things that we're looking for is a fairly high level of business acumen. I think we're looking for people who have a high level of salesmanship or influencing skills. And then we're also looking for people who have a functional expertise in all elements of the marketing communications mix. In order for me to give you a really good flavor for the way the marketing team works, I'd like to pause for a moment because I won't do this until we get the little bit of background music. I'd like to add the soundtrack to the movie Shaft behind this because the whole team is really stacked with bad mother hush your mouths. So there's a few things that the team is characterized by. The first one is we do have a culture of fun. We work hard together, we play hard together, but fun is very much a part of how we do things as a marketing team. The second thing is we're very collaborative. And the third thing is we have a culture where we pride ourselves on unearthing both consumer as well as reseller insights to really help shape the things that we do as a team.
So when I was at Casemate, what we did is we didn't necessarily take a requisition and fill a requisition. It was a startup. When I first started, I was given 60 open job titles, no descriptions, and told, this is what we think we need. So after many discussions of why is this what we think we need? Well, we know we need a head of marketing, which turned out to end up being Vince. But we didn't necessarily go out and say, well, I need to hire a VP of marketing. What we did is we said, we need somebody that can run marketing in a startup type environment. Here's some of the things we want to do. And by the way, we probably need some people to do social. We're an e-commerce company, so we needed some people that understand digital and things like that. And so we put these out there more for, this is the type of talent we're trying to hire. So take the requisition out, here's the type of people. And then we just started interviewing people and meeting with people. And it didn't become get a rec, fill a rec. When we found somebody that fit the culture, that fit the bill, it's like, this is a great person, I think they could fit in. And in a startup environment, you're going to do multiple jobs. You're not just doing a job. You might have 3 or 4 different jobs. So it takes a certain type of person to do that. And so we looked for those type of people. And when we found them, we would make them offers. And I'll tell you, in a startup, startups don't pay as well as large companies. And we were taking people from, I don't know if anybody's in here, Kodak, Newell Rubbermaid, Coke, and they were coming to work for us, and they were taking pay cuts to come work because there's a whole vision. Again, there's a whole storyline that goes with this. You're just seeing one piece of it, but people bought into, this is the vision, this is why I want to be there. So let's talk about some of those platforms that we put that out on. Where do you tell these stories? And I'll make sure we get on time. Job descriptions, that I talked about that earlier. Make sure your headers, to the point. In your footers, make sure you have access so people can go to whatever social sites you're using, whatever video sites you're using. Put that in the job description and shorten your job descriptions. Make them short. I have a rule, it's 5 bullets. If you can't tell me what this person needs to be able to do in 5 bullets, then that's not a job description, it's too long. I'm still working on that. I got some people there, some people not, but that's what we're working towards. And I find that people can, and it's easy for managers, right? It's easy for anybody that's writing it. Your employees are a great asset to telling these stories. What do you think they go home and talk about? What do they talk about with their friends, with their families? They talk about work. When they meet new people, they talk about their office. I mean, this is what employees do. Give them the information. Give them the story. Obviously, LinkedIn is a great place. Instagram. Blogs are awesome. So at a previous company, this is one of the things, this is on my Q3 plan for YP. Have a blog, a career-centric blog that employees can talk on. Have them write the articles. Obviously, you're going to peruse that and give the okay. I wouldn't give them carte blanche just to do whatever, but let them write about it. And it's not necessarily, let them write about, one of the things we're doing in LA is we're going to have for our techies a hackathon. And it's basically set up, it's kind of like Google has these hackathons where you go in and show hacker tips and trades and all this kind of stuff. Let's have an employee write about that and talk about that. And hopefully they're writing on other blogs. And then lastly, Vine. And if you can click on that, I'm going to see if this, if we have web access in here, that's a live link on Vine. And I'll show you some of the campaigns that, that we did. And if not, I can talk through it. But basically, we all have smartphones. Vine is a little tool on, think of it as Twitter, but it's video. And so this one is only, Vine videos are only 7 seconds. So I might go to somebody and ask, well, here's one, we have food trucks come in. So you see at the top, it may not play. Yeah, there's their food truck. And if we scroll down one more, this is our Halloween, we had a Halloween contest and people were doing dance-offs in the office. It's just running a little slow. But here's the beauty of these things. So I'm shooting it on a phone. It takes me 7 seconds. It's real. And I can embed this onto a website. I can embed this onto a blog. Yes? It's an excellent question. Now we do, yes. I came from a startup. I'm like, a release? What's that? And legal was like, we really need that. What we've done is we've actually made it part of the, when people start, in the agreement that you sign, your employee agreement. So we've made it that, hey, we have these social sites and that we will be using, and give you a release that we can use you. I actually had one person that absolutely didn't. We did the video, it was done, and she came back and she's like, I don't want to be in the video. I'm like, but you're the marketing communications person. How can you not be in the video? So we edited it out with an editing tool. So we'll go back to the slide here. If you scroll through that, there was one series where I asked people, why do you like working here? And that was kind of my topic. Why do you like working at YP? And then people gave their answer. And again, you can use these for all kind of stuff. So building an audience, think about your employees, your candidates, college recruiting, alumni. One thing I'm going to say, think about alumni. Think about your ex-employees. And this is my advice on ex-employees. Don't treat them like an ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend, ex-spouse. They've worked there. Most of them probably leave on pretty decent terms. Talk to them. Make them part of this community. Again, you might want to be careful if somebody left on, bad terms or something like that. And that's why I say you should be selective of who you let into these communities. Ex-employees are a great resource. I mean, when I was at the startup, we had people leave and they'd still refer their friends. I had people that, we interviewed that we didn't make offers to. They still referred their friends. Contractors are a great resource as well. And I talked a little bit about LinkedIn. Update your LinkedIn profiles. If you see at the top, you can have the canned messaging. You can attach the videos there. And this is just something that we've done. And I don't tell everybody in the company that they have to do this. I say this is an option. Here's some links. Here's some videos. So if you'd like to do this, we'd love for you to do it. But if not, that's cool. So that's it. Any questions? Yes. So a mix of both. So for some of the longer videos, when I was at Casemate, we had an in-house person, and now with the one at YP, I had an in-house person, but I've also got a group that I work with that can shoot the videos. The one I'm doing in LA, I'm going to be outsourcing, but it's not an extreme. It's not a $15,000 production or anything like that. The Panasonic one was outsourced. But the cost is relatively inexpensive. And that's why I tell people, see what works for your budget. That's why you've got the Vine and the Instagram videos, and you can use those with your phone, but you do probably want some quality videos as you're putting those out. So it wasn't necessarily a tool, but I didn't go into a lot of detail. The Twitter party, I volunteer for a group, SHRM Atlanta. It's like the Society of Human Resource Management. Everybody has a group. And we're getting ready for our big conference. And so we're going to throw a Twitter party, which you can do as an employee as well. And basically we're going to have an hour where we have, we're going to get a lot of bloggers and different people that are influential in the HR community. And we're going to just have them tweeting. We're going to have the conversation all via Twitter with the same hashtag. And then it goes out to that network and goes out to that network. So if you're recruiting technologists, for example, as we were talking earlier, how do you find those people that are C# developers, just use that as an example. You could do the same thing. Get some influential people to kind of start having conversations around that. The scheduling is a little different. So the scheduling, I use a tool called laterbro.com. It's just a scheduling tool. If you've seen in Facebook, if you manage the company page, there's a clock, looks like a little clock in the left, and you can manage when they go out. So Twitter, that laterbro.com, it's free. It's just a tool that allows you to set the times, and it gives it to you, 24-hour time frame, and you can just pick on, I think it's every half hour, or every 15 minutes you can pick. So I could have 1:15, and I can select the times. I go ahead and write my text, and then I hit save, and when that time comes, it goes out. laterbro.com. And one of the reasons I like it, I just like being able to say laterbro.com. I just thought it was pretty cool. It does Facebook and Twitter. You can use other tools. There's Hootsuite. In our next session, I think we're going to talk a little bit about those, but there's Hootsuite where you can be a little more formalized with scheduling these things as well. Yes?
Regarding your group campaigns,
Mm-hmm.
what's your frequency of touching?
For which campaigns? I'm sorry.
When you did like your group campaigns, you're scheduling out
Mm-hmm.
candidates to your company.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. I think it depends on the tech. So it depends. For technologists, what I've typically done is no sooner than every 6 weeks. Usually it might be once every 2 months because they don't want to get hounded. If it's sales, I might touch base with them every 3 to 4 weeks. And again, depending on the type of role. If it's an entry-level role, but I try not to do anything less than every 4 weeks. You know, every 3 weeks is rare. So, but it just depends. And maybe for a college student, I might do that campaign for a couple of months and then pull them back a little bit. So I might, campaign during the season, college recruiting season, and then they've made that first decision, and so they've taken that first job. Now I might put them on one every 3 months. So it's all different. Yes, yeah. So he asked about targeting our internal employees. Absolutely. I'll give you an example. We were looking for a director of customer marketing in Los Angeles, and the first thing we did is we called the VP of the group that's reporting to, and we use Jobs to Web as one of our tools, and we created the short link in there. So we created kind of a wording. We sent it to her and said, hey, make sure that you and all your employees put this in their LinkedIn profiles. And then we sent them another one and said another time and said, make sure y'all put this on your Facebook page. And so we were giving them the information because managers, if you just ask them to do it, they may not. But if you give it to them and say, just cut and paste this in, they'll most likely do it. So it's a little more legwork on our part, but it's effective. I think that's probably one of the most critical right there, what you just... I've done both, depending on where I was, but employees with the Ascendify tool, they're part of the CRM, so they can actually talk to people. So we've got the Panasonic group, the way it's being set up is there's 10 to 15 employees that are going to be in there, and they've said, hey, we're willing to talk about the company, so if somebody were a software tester and they wanted to talk to us about that within the tool, we can do that. So. We got to give some books away. I got some people here. Our winners are Craig Woodson, Sean R-E-H-D-E-R Redder. There we go, Reader. And I only brought 2 books, but I've got a third, and I can bring it to the cocktail hour because Amy Adams also did a whole lot. Where's Amy Adams? Amy? All right, you're getting one as well. I have to give it to you. Thank y'all.